Senti, Udi cosa dice di questo?
Ma lui è talmente abituato a fare queste robe che la considera una cagata. Cioè,
Ok. Non c'è da essere...
lui ha dato solo la parte tecnica, vedi? Ha detto cazzi tua. E Ido?
1, 2, 3, Ido.
Ido?
לדבר?
להתחיל?
לא, אבל נתחיל, בכל זאת.
כן?
Yeah.
Da-dan!
Hello.
Okay, here we are. On October 22, we are entering, according to the Jewish calendar, to the year 5786. מה לא... אני לא שומעת.
Forse iniziamo con ciao Gio, ciao Fia.
נכון. כן? Hey Joe.
Ciao Fia, good morning.
בוקר טוב. So, on September 22, we are entering, according to the Jewish calendar, to the year 5786.
Wow.
Yes. And according to the Jewish tradition, this is the time of the year to make a wish. And these are mine for this coming year. First of all, to bring all the hostages back home and to end this war.
Amen.
But also to show to the world this side of the story that was not enough represented in the international media. This is why to me is an honor to start this new year with a new project with you, Jordana, my partner in crime. So, who is Jordana Grego and why we decided to do this podcast from Tel Aviv?
Okay. First of all, I join you in the wishes for the new year. Why this podcast? I think there are enough podcasts about Israel and the Jewish people. I think the world is, the Western world at least, is already very obsessed with us. But what I've been feeling the last few years, and the more time goes by, the more I feel it, is that this obsession with the Jewish people and Israel has been reflecting an increasing, violent, horrible wave of anti-Semitism. And I've been trying to brush it away. And we got to a point that I feel this hatred towards Israel and this hatred toward the Jews is extremely personal. And I felt I have to do something about it. I felt I have to show our faces, and I want to tell the stories of Israel. And beyond the war, we can't avoid talking about October the 7th and the war with Hamas and the whole regional balagan that is happening around us. But I think I really want to show the world, whoever wants to listen, who we are and our stories and what an amazing country Israel is, and how the women of the world can be inspired by some of the things that we do here and tell our stories. So this is our wish. And by the way, why do you want to do this podcast?
So let's start from the beginning of our friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Because why I wanted to do this podcast with you is because to me you were always a very inspiring woman. I would never forget our first meeting in Rothschild Boulevards, probably more than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I wasn't pregnant yet, so yes, more than 10 years ago. And to me, you were really representing how Israel, a startup nation, could allow women to be entrepreneur, mothers, and try to find a meaning.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer to your question, this podcast is actually helping me to find the meaning of why I'm here. Why we're here despite 2 years of war. Why we choose to be here. Mm-hmm. We could go back to our hometown, Milano. Yeah. We have another passport. We shouldn't be here after what we went through. But because what we went through, we decided to be here. And this is why I think it's important to share our thoughts and feelings with this podcast.
I completely agree. So let's start with this crazy journey. And I think we should introduce ourselves, first of all, so that people have an idea of who we are. Would you like to start telling us about who Fiammetta Martagani is? Before you start, I just want to say, I just don't want to return the compliment, but really Fiammetta is for me the quintessential Renaissance woman, because you work on so many fields, you have so many interests, and you have so much energy. Just to let people know, we literally 1 week ago, we had this short conversation about this need to share stories and to invite women to talk about Israel. And here we are 1 week later recording this podcast. So please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Wow. So to make a very long story short, I was born and raised in Milano.
You're fucking amazing. I'm a genius. all the time.
I'm looking too much at the text.
Yeah, you're talking to her.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
יש זמן, זה נערך.
Okay. Okay.
The best idea, read the question or what the topic, הנושא שעליו אתה מדבר, תרימי עיניים ותשאלי אותה.
Okay.
אני רואה את הניירות על השולחן, זה לא סוד שיש ניירות,
Okay.
זה secret.
Okay.
But I want to see you asking the question.
Okay.
Okay, this is
Okay.
the moment that it's happening.
Okay.
Okay, that's what we're talking about.
רגע, זה אומר להתחיל מההתחלה או אפשר להמשיך?
הכל קרה ומצולם. היינו פה 2 דקות, זה לא שהיינו רבע שעה או משהו, כן?
I think especially in the beginning, I think you have to...
אז נתחיל מההתחלה?
מה שאת מחליטה.
אוקיי.
יש זמן? כאילו...
יש לי זמן. האירוע הבא שלי, וניסע לבית חולים לאמא שלי, אז תהיו פה כמה שאתם רוצות.
שתהיה בריאה.
איך כבר לא יקרה.
אבל אז כמה שאפשר.
בבקשה, take your time. I have to...
Okay.
I think especially the beginning.
Okay.
Don't...
The trick, read the question, this is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
אני לא שומע, אני רק רואה אתכם, אז לראות עם זה, ועכשיו תרימי עיניים.
Okay. כן, כן. I was nervous.
I know, I'm not nervous.
Okay.
French coffee in a minute. And ask the question. Okay.
סבבה.
You look amazing.
Amazing.
Thank you. Meow.
Fuck, I don't want to così bene.
No, it's only going to be better. Yeah. I have no doubt. Rileggiti se vuoi adesso la frase. Alla fine quello che devi dire è che vabbè, l'anno magari segnatelo.
No, infatti me la sono scritta in
okay.
grande.
E poi il tuo wish for the new year.
Yeah.
E poi iniziamo. אפשר להמשיך?
כן.
אוקיי, אז take 2. Action.
Good morning, Joe.
Ciao, Fia.
So, here we are, getting very closely to the Jewish New Year.
Rosh Hashanah.
Rosh Hashanah. This year is going to be on September 22, and we're going to celebrate 5,786 year of the Jewish people.
Wow, that's a lot.
So according to the Jewish tradition, this is the time of the year where it's very important to wish what we want for the next coming year. So my first wish is the return of all the hostages at the end of this war.
Amen.
And looking forward for that, I thought that was crucial in this very crucial time of history to share our feelings with the rest of the world. This is why I thought about to start the new year with this podcast with you, Jordana.
From Tel Aviv.
From Tel Aviv. Because you are a very inspiring woman. I would never forget the first meeting we had, a coffee in Rothschild Boulevard. And what impressed me back then was for sure more than 10 years ago, because I wasn't pregnant yet.
Right.
And my son now is 9, so it was a long time ago. Was that you really represent to me the amazing story of this country, the startup nation, especially for women. Women that here can be entrepreneurs, mothers, and many other things. And this is what I would like to share to the world with this podcast. But the question is, why doing this podcast now from Tel Aviv? Why, Joe?
So, I think Israel is an amazing country. It's her home, and we are in a very complicated space. But in the last 2 years especially, I feel like our stories hasn't been told properly. I feel that we are in a very challenging area in the world, and we just don't manage to tell our story. And there is so much more beyond what happened on October 7th and the current war and the Palestinian and the Hamas. I feel like this has spilled over with an incredible, horrible wave of anti-Semitism all around the world, especially the Western world. And I feel this hatred towards Israel.
Continue talking.
Okay. Me?
Yeah.
Femeta? Continue talking? Like
You were talking.
Okay. So I'll start from answering your question. So for the last 2 years, we've been living in a war that's been incredibly challenging on so many levels, physical, mental, and along with the war, we've all been witnessing an incredible new wave of disgusting level of anti-Semitism around the world. And it's not just aimed at the Jews, at Israel, but it's also aimed at the Jews worldwide. And I feel that this new hatred that once was, anti-Semitism always changes. In the beginning, it was about religion, then it was about race, and now it's about a nation. But I feel that this hatred is not aimed just at Israel in general or Jews. It's very personal. I feel me as an Israeli, I am a legitimate target for hatred and possibly violence. And I felt I have to do something about it. And in my little world, what I can do about it is tell a story. Tell a story, my story, your story, stories of other women, and let people know a little bit more about Israel, challenge their view about what they know about Israel, because we live in an amazing country, and I would really love to share stories with the world and open your mind a little and see what we have to offer to the world. And this is really what I want to do, why I want to share the stories. What about you? Why do you want to do this podcast?
Well, as we just say, these last 2 years were incredibly challenging. And the media, the international media, didn't represent enough what we were all going through. Also as a woman, while your husband or son or brother is trying to protect your country, not all in Gaza, there are 7 fronts.
Yeah.
And it's a story that unfortunately started before October 7th. But we're not here to talk only about politics. We're here also to talk about everyday life, as I said, as women, as mother, as entrepreneur. So would you like to tell us a little bit more about you, Jordana? Who is Jordana Grego?
Yes. So I'm Jewish. I was born from a Jewish family, and both parents in Rome, actually, and then we moved to Milan. I was raised as, a nice, good Jewish girl within the Jewish community. I had plenty of friends who weren't Jewish. I had the opportunity to live abroad for several periods of my life. And once I finished high school, I actually left Italy for London because I felt Milan, in a way, was a little bit too small, maybe provincial, especially 30 years ago. And after living in London, I lived in the States for a while, and then I decided to make Tel Aviv my home. Why? Because I'm a Zionist. I believe in the Zionist project. I believe the Jews should have their homeland, and I wanted to contribute. For me, Europe has always been a big Jewish cemetery, because if you look at the history, that's what it is. And I felt if I have to contribute something to this world, I wanted to do it in Israel. And I moved here. I had all kind of adventures career-wise. I worked for a while at the Embassy of Italy. I worked for a lobby company. I worked in finance. And in the last 10 years, I started my own company, my own business, offering concierge services to people coming to Israel. And that's it. That's me in a nutshell. And part-time, I'm also a painter and an actress. And what about you, if I might? I would love our listeners to know a little bit more about you, about the various works and activities that you do, because I think it's very, very interesting.
Okay, so to make a very long story short, I was born and raised in Milano in a very secular environment. My father is technically Christian, my mother is technically Jew, but I was raised embracing all kind of religious tradition, and I ended up as an atheist, if I should define myself.
Were you celebrating Chrismukkah when you were in Milan?
I was celebrating everything. I also have a kind of passion for Buddhism because of my love for ikebana, which is the Japanese way to arrange flowers. But the reason why eventually I ended up in Israel is because, first of all, I felt that this country could embrace all my identities as a Jew, as a Christian, as an atheist, but also because of my studies. I came here because of my PhD in anthropology, and for an anthropologist, Israel is an incredible experiment where Jew, Christian, Muslim, Druze, Kirkasim, the list is extremely long, live all together. They are all together part of the Israeli army. They are all together working in hospitals, in the Supreme Court. So to me, it was a dream to live here. And this is why also I wanted my son to born here and to attend school here. He's studying in a school where they study Hebrew and Arabic and English, and he has friends from all the religions. His best friend is Yusuf from an Arab village. And I think this is an amazing place where to live when there is no war. But October 7 arrived and things changed dramatically. Even if tomorrow morning the hostage will be back and this war will end, I think it will take years for us and for the Palestinians to recover. And this is why I think it's so important to share our story to the rest of the world. So Jordana, where have you been in October 7, and how this very specific date in history changed your life, your career, your being a mother? What has it changed on a physical level, on a mental level, on an everyday level?
So it has changed me profoundly, as I think it has changed every Israeli and possibly every Jew around the world, and every person who has some empathy. So on October 7th, I was in Italy on vacation with my family, and our flight back got canceled. So we ended up staying for almost a month in Milan. And it's funny because I never thought of leaving Israel. I had that thought just before October 7th because Israel was going through this judicial reform, and we were this close to being in a civil war. But then October 7th happened, and I think all kind of ghosts from the past were coming back, ghosts from the Shoah, the Holocaust. We sort of were raised with the idea that never again was really never again. That's what we were raised, like something horrible like the Holocaust will never happen. And Israel has always gone through wars. But the way this massacre happened, and it was something different. We felt extremely vulnerable. We didn't understand why the army wasn't able to defend us. There were so many levels of fears that were unleashed. And it deeply changed me because I think I became much more sad. And I also became and discovered new parts of me, like the incredible resilience and a capacity to deal with situations that I thought I would never be able to. So to give you an example, I think I discovered a lot of new activities or things that helped me cope with it. One of them was painting. So I never painted in my life, and then I just found myself basically trying to relax and just started scribbling. And I felt that it was like the first time I managed to calm myself down since October 7th. And that opened a whole new world for me. Another thing was, for example, volunteering, especially during the war in Iran in June, which was extremely traumatic for all of us. It sort of I felt the urge to do something, and the thing that made me feel the best was actually to go and volunteer and help give stuff basically to the people that just lost their homes. And as a mother, it's very hard. It's very hard to teach your kids how to be resilient, and also to explain to them what's going on on TV. Like my youngest daughter was asking me, why are the people in Gaza living in tents? And you explain to them there is a war and their homes has been destroyed, and she was like heartbroken by it. And how do you explain it to them? It is horrible. The reality is horrible. How do you manage to explain war to children, especially a war that they feel every day? I mean, just yesterday we were running to the shelters again because of a missiles. I don't know how much this is being reported abroad, but basically we've been running to shelters for 2 years. So this is a little bit about my October 7th experience. I would like you to tell me also about yours before I start venturing in the Startup Nation and career-wise. So where were you on October 7th?
So I was at home in Tel Aviv. Funny enough, I just came back the day before from the opening a huge exhibition in Italy about Israeli art, because this is what I do in life. I'm a journalist, but I'm also an art curator. And few hours later, we found out that the cousin of my husband was missing in action because he was attending the Nova Music Festival. And only a few days later, we found out that it actually was being killed by Hamas. And actually that week, my husband was just going from our funeral to the other because many kids of his good friends were trying to defend the kibbutz during the attack, and some of them lost their life. But something that to me is very hard to explain, especially to the rest of the world, is that while I was working 24/7 as a journalist, I felt tremendously alone. Also because some of my best friends, including you, were not here. October 7, 2023 was a Jewish holiday, Simchat Torah, during Sukkot. And many Israeli like you were just in vacation. And you, Nadia, and Gaia, two other amazing Italian-Israeli women entrepreneurs that I would love to have with us in one of the next episodes, were all in Italy, stuck in Italy. There were no flights. And all of a sudden, I heard from you, I heard from Gaia that you were thinking about, you actually brought your kids temporarily to the Jewish school. And I thought, they're not coming back. That month was the most horrible month of my life. I couldn't even imagine to survive here without you. So I would never forget, I would never forget our first meeting in Rothschild. I would never forget our first meeting when you came back.
Yeah.
We met at Tamati, the coffee place next to my house. You hugged me, and I didn't feel alone anymore. And this is why also this podcast is so important to me, because few women in the last 2 years really kept me alive. So in a way, I'm also grateful to them. And I would love all of them share their story here as women, as entrepreneur, and also to describe the resilience that we had to develop in those last 2 years.
Yeah.
There is something that maybe we should explore because it's very connected to the cultural environment of the startup nation. It's a Yiddish word. It's called chutzpah.
Chutzpah.
It's another word that is very hard to explain, but I think is the secret word to understand the success of Israel as a startup nation, but also in terms of resilience. Maybe you can help me, Jordana.
Well, first of all, as a good Jewish girl from Milan, I was the exact opposite of being a chutzpah. Like for me, it was like a bad word. It meant like, being sort of arrogant and cocky, and that not what I was. Now I am. So I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur. I've always been an employee, always, do the things as I've been taught. And I think coming to Israel sort of helped me unleash a very wild part of myself. And basically I was working as an employee somewhere. At one point I had my third daughter, and I was like, let's just stop a second. And I looked around and I saw there's all these amazing people, and lots of them women, who are starting businesses, startups, developing new technologies and being mothers at the same time and just going out there and doing things. And I was like, wait, I want to do that too. I actually decided that I wanted to build a business before I knew what the business was going to be. And I don't think this is something that I would have done had I stayed in Italy. I wouldn't have the courage to do it. But also I think just the setting is just so inviting to try and start to do new things. And I think the reasons are many, but I can think of two. One is that there is no fear of failure. Like if you hear other podcasts about the Israeli success of startups, they tell you, people don't even invest in startups whose founders haven't failed at least once or twice or 3 or 10 times and burned millions of dollars. But failure is something that is just part of the process. It's not something you should be embarrassed about. It's not something people are going to judge you for. It's just part of the process. Just do it. And it doesn't really matter if it succeeds or not, because it's an experience and you're trying to do it and you're having there as entrepreneur spirit. And I think the other reason, which is sad and happy at the same time, is sort of tomorrow is not confirmed. Tomorrow is not to be taken for granted. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And God knows we know this for the last 2 years. So do now what you want to do. Don't wait until tomorrow. Carpe diem. And it goes for starting new businesses, jumping from airplanes, doing things, trying new foods, or
doing a podcast.
So just do it, because life is extremely fragile. And
this is why we're here.
And this is why we're here. What about you? Because your career is a little bit different. So how the Startup Nation has changed you, or has made who you are today?
Sure. Yeah, I cannot define myself an entrepreneur as you are, but I think that there is something very in common between not only the two of us, but many Israeli women, which is the startup mentality, the freedom mentality. I'm not an entrepreneur, but I'm a freelance, not only in terms of the fact that I am not being paid by a payroll. I have a freelance contract in the newspapers where I work, Il Foglio and Avvenire, and in the several museums as I work as a curator, the Jewish Museum of Lecce in Italy, and I'm part of this program to help young Israeli artists in Tel Aviv. Mm-hmm. But the freedom is the fact that I can choose what I want to write about it, which artist I want to bring to an exhibition. And this is an incredible opportunity that I could never have in a place like Italy or Europe, because there is something very challenging in Middle East, and of course you have to pay a price of it.
You look amazing. I sent it to a few guys to check it technically, okay?
Wow. We can have a date with a few guys.
So you can have a date with me.
אבל אל תגיד לאודי.
It's stuck here. No.
Yeah, it's good enough.
Okay. And I send it to the editor to see if it's okay.
My hair.
And I want it.
Now my hair, it's unfixable. It's just a wild.
Okay, so I start from the question.
Yeah. So, Fiammetta, why you have a different sort of a career path? Mm-hmm. How did the Startup Nation change you? Like, how did it affect and made the person that you are today?
So, in a way, I'm not an entrepreneur as you are, but definitely the cultural environment of this Startup Nation was so inspired me that it partly brought me here, not only out of Zionism, but also because I wanted to be free, not in terms of a payroll. Technically, I'm a freelance for the two newspapers where I work, Il Foglio and Avvenire, and also as curator for the Jewish Museum of Lecce in Italy and for the Tel Aviv municipality in Tel Aviv. But the freedom that I'm talking about is the free of choice. I choose what I want to write about. I choose which artist I want to represent. And this feeling of freedom is something unique that I could never achieve in Italy and probably in Europe. And I think it's very related to the place where we live, the Middle East, for good and for bad. Because every day in Middle East is a challenge. We don't know what's going on. But we are also exposed to amazing stuff. Just to go back to the war of Iran, because of course during those 2 years of war we had several wars in between. While we were hiding in the shelters, I was also thinking about other women trying to hide in Tehran.
Yeah.
And as a journalist, as curator, was very it came immediately to my mind to try to connect with some Iranian women, and I thought that the easy way as a curator was to connect with the Iranian artists. And what surprised me that we start to talk to each other, and as I was scared for them, they were scared for me. And this was incredible, that in the middle of a war, while our government were trying to destroy each other, us as human beings could connect to each other. And this to me is such a incredible example of resilience.
Yeah.
That is one of the reasons why, despite everything, I'm still here and I want to be here. Is out of choice. Actually, Jordan, I would like to ask you, how comes that after this crazy 2 years of madness, you are still here? We could go back to Milano. We have a house there. We have another passport. But despite everything, we are here.
Yeah. It's a hard question because it is hard to live here. You know, we show this resilience, we show this strong faith, but it is hard. We feel very isolated, we feel very scared. And it's very hard to deal also with, I think, with the damage and the death that we are doing to somebody else. Justified or not, it's just really heavy. And we have to deal with a lot of losses, and God knows we've been to too many funerals of people, of young people, that makes you think, especially when you have kids, like, is it the right choice to be here? What I can tell you that what really helps me here is, I said it before, but is volunteering, is to be involved in community projects and helping other people, because it makes me feel like I'm doing something for the good. And there is a sense of togetherness, of understanding that what's going on, it's bigger than yourself, and putting time into helping other people really makes it meaningful. And especially here during a war, if it's from again, helping people that lost their homes or giving bloods, whatever makes me feel really, really better, not good, but better. And the other reason, which I guess is the most, it's more philosophical, is that I try to zoom out on Jewish history. And this war and this wave of anti-Semitism is nothing new. If you look at Jewish history, unfortunately, it's a history of persecutions, genocide attempts, with some interruptions of highlights, like, you know, the Renaissance or the Enlightenment. But basically, the Jews have always been hated around the world, if it was in Christians, in the Christian world or in the Muslim world. And again, the hatred kind of changed. Initially, it was a hatred based on religion. Then it was a hatred based on race in the last century. And today I feel it's a hatred based on nation. Like, you know, every country, every nation has the right to have their own state but us. Zoom out, you know, you see how tiny Israel is. It's like the size of New Jersey. And zoom out, see the Arab world. Like, it's obvious that we can find very easily a solution to this conflict, but there is not a clear understanding in the world of what's going on and the reasons of Israel. And so I just feel like this is, you know, the challenge of our days. And I don't think, you know, I would feel much safer being in Milan. I'm not sure everybody knows, but actually had a taste of what life would be in Milan, because on October 7th, we ended up staying there for months, as you said, and I put my kids in the Jewish school. And my kids were asking me, like, why is there police, army, and armed guards around a teeny tiny school of like 400 students. So even abroad, maybe in Asia is different, but Asia it would be an amazing experience to live there, but it's not really an option. So if I were moving back to the US or to Europe or to the US, you'd have to deal with a lot of challenges based on your identity as a Jew or as an Israeli. And I feel like it's staying here, it's a battle worth fighting for with all the challenges. So that's my take. What about you? It's a heavy question because it carries a lot of meaning. And if it was only for us, it would be one thing. But if we're both mothers, and our choices have consequences for the people we love the most. So what about you? Why are you still here?
As you said before, I also, because of my background as an anthropologist, I always try to zoom out. And I see this conflict, not only a conflict between Israel and Hamas, but part of a larger conflict that I personally, as a journalist, called World War III, despite the rest of the world and the international media doesn't speak aloud about it, probably because it will bring to the crash of the financial market. But this is where we are. And I feel that I am fighting World War III.
Yeah.
And I decided to fight this war in my own country. And as we had to fight, our grandparents had to fight World War II to a better place, this is our challenge. But I want to try to be optimistic. I'm actually kind of pessimistic about what's going on in Europe and US, as you just said. I would never move there. But as I said before, Middle East is actually a very challenging place where things are already happening. The Abraham Accord that started in 2020, and they're moving on. I will not surprise if at the end this war will end, not because of the help of the Europe or US, but because of the help of the Arab countries, that they're sick and tired of Hamas and all the radical Islam, and they want to live in peace like us. So, as I mentioned before, the relationship they already have with some Iranian women, I would love one day to host on our podcast maybe a woman from Saudi Arabia, from Emirates, from all the country of the Middle East that are looking forward for peace.
Yalla, inshallah. Yeah.
So, apropos, inshallah, Jordana, we're getting too close to the end of this first episode. And
I want more.
Well, I'm really looking forward to invite more amazing women like you here. And speaking about women, would you like to close the episode maybe with a...
Yes, with a quote or with a thought. So I've been doing some research, and I think the one that resonated the most, especially in the tone of our conversation, is by Golda Meir, she was Israel's first female
and the
prime
second
minister.
prime minister worldwide.
The other one was Margaret Thatcher, right? The first one?
No, the Indian one.
Was she? Well, maybe we'll check.
Recording again. Just a second. Okay.
So I would like to share a quote by Golda Meir, Israel's first prime minister, female prime minister. And I think this quote resonated a lot with us, especially with the conversation that we're having and that we would like to have in the future with our guest. And the quote is, pessimism is a luxury that a Jew can never allow himself. So yes, we're going through a very hard time. God knows we're waiting for peaceful time to be blessed with. But in the meantime, we cannot let our soul be... Okay, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let me try it again with a quote. So I would like to share a quote by Golda Meir, Israel's first female prime minister. And I think this quote very much resonates with the tone that we want to give this podcast. And the quote is, pessimism is a luxury that a Jew can never allow himself. And this is really what resonates. Yes, we're going through a very hard time as Israelis, as Jews around the world, but we cannot allow ourselves to be pessimistic, to give up hope. We have to be resilient. We have to fight, unfortunately fight physically fighting, but also fighting a battle to let people hear our stories. And it doesn't mean that we are right, wrong. We just really ask people to have an open mind, be curious, and to listen to us and share questions that they have, and feel free to reach out. What about you? Do you have a quote that you would like to share?
I don't have a quote, but I have a woman, an Italian Israeli woman that I really love. Also, she's a kind of mentor for me because she is one of the best journalists we ever had. Her name is Manuela Dviri.
Yeah.
And she lost her son during the Lebanon war.
Mm-hmm.
And was also one of the first mothers that, together with other mothers, created a movement to stop the war. This is also Israel. And during those 2 crazy years, she was a mentor also in terms of show me a sample, show me resilience. Every time that I was telling her I don't know how to wake up in the morning, because there was days like that. First of all, she told me that I wasn't allowed.
Yeah.
And also she told me that the reason why we have to be here is to make this country a better place. We can't live being here every day, drinking our Israeli coffee, reading the Israeli newspaper, doing this podcast is a form of resistance. And this is why we're here. So thank you so much, Joe, to share this this new project for the new year with me. I really wish us a wonderful year with the hostages coming back home as soon as possible and to arrive to the end of the war.
I exchange the same wishes. Shana Tova, Happy New Year. May the whole world be blessed with peace. It sounds like a blessing from a beauty queen, but I really wish the world will experience a better year ahead. And we look forward to our next episode of this podcast. Please share on Instagram, YouTube, wherever we're going to be. And
be part of it.
Be part of it, and see you next time.
See you next time.
Yeah.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova. Thank you. Woo!
Ido?
נרדמת? כן. Che ore sono? Vabbè, passiamo tanto, anche, tante cose non abbiamo detto della Shoah, della storia della mia famiglia.
It was very good rehearsal. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
The rehearsal was fine. Now let's shoot it. No?
Okay.
I thought it was fine.
לא, כי אנחנו פשוט קצת מותשות. כן? תודה. זהו, זה כיף, זה ממש כיף מה שאתה אמרת, אבל זה דורש...
עד ככה, זה ממש כיף. בחדר שלכם, יוצאים פה דברים, ואנשים בוכים לי, ומתפרקים, ונורא, פשוט נורא נהנים מזה. שמדברים, ובסוף יוצא טלוויזיה או אינטרנט.
כן.
נורא כיף. נורא קל. כאילו, הכל נהיה נורא קל. זה מה שאתה אומר. שבו, דברו, יש.
כן, שכחנו בעוד דברים, אבל אנחנו מקוות
אני פה רוצות עוד, רוצות להמשיך, רוצות זה.
כן, הרעיון זה...
השאלה זה אם זה לא יהיה כאילו ארוך מדי, כאילו אפשר פשוט...
גם אפשר, זה לא אחד, זה יכול להיות 2.
לא, הרעיון שלנו שזה יהיה סוג של פיילוט, כי אנחנו רוצות להזמין עוד בנות ולהמשיך.
אני קורא לזה רעיונות של בית קפה. יושבים בבית קפה ומדברים ומתכננים, אז המציאות מראה את הדברים שלה. ממש לשיקולכם, אפשר לסיים וזה יעבור יום-יומיים לעורך ויהיה איתכם בקשר ונראה איך אנחנו מוצאים. כל האירוע הוא בערך היה 45 דקות, 50 דקות עם כל הבלגנים, כלומר יש לו 30 דקות של תוכן. 30 דקות של דיבור. שזה ארוך.
שזה ארוך.
זה לא צריך יותר.
זה ארוך. זה מה שזה... אז שיקולכם. אני נהניתי. הבנתי הכל.
כן, הבנת?
לא, אני גם בעיקר מסתכל על הספגוף ופוקוסים, זה נורא, מבחינתי זה גם נורא טכני.
כן, בטח.
זה עבודה שלך.
אני גם דואג לכם, כאילו, זה...
איך היה השפת הגופה? אני לא בסדר.
כן, לגמרי. לא הקשבתם מספיק, 1, 2, הכוסות קפה פעם הבאה היו כוסות מזכוכית.
אוקיי.
כן, אבל גם העיר לי את זה, אמרתי לו, זה חלק מה...